How did we even get here? Cause I swear I don't recognize shit here.
Party people in the place to be. What's Guan's own? It's me. I just got finished watching Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey. The question on my mind over the last couple one of these have been, is it possible for us to have a Black Christmas classic? There have been quite a few Black Christmas movies that have permeated through Hollywood throughout the years. We reviewed just a couple of them here on the show. Yep, it smells like Christmas. On the show. And quite honestly, we hadn't gotten one up to this point. We had This Christmas, which, I thought was aight for what it was. We had Best Man Holiday, which fell short, really, in a few different departments. And now we have Jingle Jangle. There's also Last Holiday or some shit with Monique that I saw on Amazon Prime. But as soon as it started playing and JB Smooth's name entered the credits, I immediately tapped the fuck out. So that's easily a disqualification. But this is the new Jingle Jangle. All the kids have been screaming and raging about this one. It feels like everybody in the world is like, this one's so great. Even on, some of the dating sites I was on, I asked them what they're watching on Netflix, and they're like, Jingle Jangle. I'm like, all right, well, I hadn't seen that yet. So, Jingle Jangle. Here we are. We're going to watch this one. Or we're going to talk about this one. Not watching this. We're going to talk about this one. It's brand new. Hey, Netflix, leave me alone. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into... Well, all right, let's not get into spoilers yet. Let's talk about the movie itself. So the movie is going for Black Christmas Classic, and it'll eventually be given that status pretty quickly. Whether or not it deserves it is another question entirely. We got Morgan Freeman. I'm looking at his name too. I don't know why I said Morgan Freeman. We got Forest Whitaker. Jesus Christ. Not the same person at all. Nowhere near the same person. Oh, the nog is strong tonight. We've got Forest Whitaker, Keegan-Michael Key, Felicia Rashad, and other people in this one. Here's what I can say. That's spoiler free. The child actress, essentially the lead in this one, Madeline Mills is her name. Her name is Journey, the character's name in this movie. She is extraordinary. She is what all those years of child acting and pageants and all those other things that people may have looked a certain way at. She's in like Broadway classes and stage moms, I'm sure, and such. She is the end product amalgam perfect world version that they've all been striving for up to this point. This is her. She is the prototype. She's the new prototype now. So all child actors have to follow her template. Otherwise, they're not doing their shit anymore. There was that one chick from Blackish who was producing movies and stuff like that. People ain't talking about her anymore. They're going to talk about her for a while. She's very good. She's super amazing in this. It's almost scary how amazing she is. The closest thing I can think of in terms of child actresses is Dakota Fanning, except if she could sing, like Broadway sing, like big belt out, these, big Broadway musical number singing. That's what it is. In terms of the music, and I can say this without doing any spoilers, in terms of the music, it feels like Hamilton at Christmas time. It feels like they decided, they just looked and saw Lin-Manuel getting all the money and jobs and everything. It was like, yeah, we're just do that. that with a Christmas tree. Just do that. So that's kind of what they did, particularly with the songs. We'll get into that when we get into spoilers. There were a couple of songs that weren't earned yet, or that weren't earned when we got to them. There were some that were. There were length issues for me on some songs. I understand what they were going for. Overall, the whole thing is 2 hours. There are definitely some scenes that feel like they are working every bit of that 2 hours and then some. And then to come find out, looking at it's only 2 hours, it's, there are some things. We'll get into those when we get into spoilers. I will say that the acting, particularly from the vets, as you would imagine, are, right up to par. Forest Whitaker, again, showing us another side of him that, if you didn't know, now you know. Forest Whitaker is a national treasure. Him and Morgan Freeman. But Forest Whitaker's who we're talking about, he's a national treasure. There are different points in Forest Whitaker's career that I was like, oh yeah, he's that guy. He's that dude. Like Hollywood, I think at this point, it typically wants you to remember that stupid CSI or not CSI, the other one, the Criminal Minds, that stupid Criminal Minds spinoff that he and Janine Garofalo did, as opposed to all his other legendary work. But the dude has many, many facets. And he's showing him again here. Felicia Rashad is Felicia Rashad. What you gonna say about Felicia Rashad? What can you say about Felicia Rashad? She is the one. She's always been the one. We talked about that when you saw her guest appearances on A Different World when we were doing the drinking game. She is the one. And she brings it here too. Again, though, it's one of those things where the child actress, Madeline, she gets on screen and you can't take your eyes off of her. This is a movie about an inventor. It's like they made her in a lab. It's like they invented the perfect child actress. Right down to, the ears that sometimes almost look like elf ears, but like in a cute way. Like it's to bring you into the Christmas, like to try to yank you into Christmas. And then and with the eyes, and they had the perfect hair on her or whatever. I'm sure it was a wig. It was probably a wig just to save time. But, everything about her is just designed. This is like all the child stage moms and producers and shit just sat in a lab, put sugar and spice and everything nice and all that other shit in, and out came her. So excellent casting, great casting in terms of that. The story isn't bad. The story is pretty good. Which we will eventually get into. I guess now is a good enough time to get into it. So spoilers from here on out. If you don't want to hear spoilers, you can come back to the video at the time stamp here. At that timestamp, this whole timestampy thing right here is where you go. All right, we're done with. All right, cut it, and then 3, 2, 1. So this movie, I shouldn't have done that. I just lost all the children. I can't even watch this. So this movie, the very first thing I remember about this movie and made it a point to write it down is they did not earn that first song. They start off essentially kind of out of nowhere. So we start off with two kids that aren't in the main story, but they're going to be told a story by Grandma Felicia Rashad. So the little girl looks in the fire. She says, "You see it?" And the little boy says, "No, it's not there." She's like, "Oh, I guess you're right." And then Felicia Rashad comes in and asks them what story they want to be read. And the little boy says, Night Before Christmas. Before Christmas. And the little girl is like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's all right." And Grandma Felicia knows, well, she's got to believe the magic is losing. So let me tell you this other story of Jingle Jangle. And the book comes all steampunky to life and everything. I'm sure Becky Lynch is watching this a million times over, just for herself, for no other reason. damn her kid, she's watching this for her. So Felicia Rashad starts telling her the story of Jingle Jangle, and Jingle Jangle. Before she really tells any part of the story, like, so we go into the Imaginarium that Jingle Jangle runs, and people are looking at stuff, and it's, this big FAO Schwartz on steroids, crack, Willy Wonka land. And so Jangle gets a package, and it's the missing ingredient for his big invention, and he sings a song about it for like 5 minutes, and it's a big Broadway hit. It's tearing everything down. I was gonna make it now. I'm gonna make it now. He sings to his wife, who's played by Sharon Rose. Thank you. I always forget her name. Played by Sharon Rose, and they're singing, and they're super singing, and they're dancing all over the place, and everybody's super happy. We don't know what, though, about. Like, you didn't earn that song. And it was a huge Broadway song. It was like swelling and swelling and swelling. It smacked you upside the head with Hamilton. It is, I'm going to take my shot, like, just turned up to 11, if that's possible. And this is with very, it's so Hamilton that even I know it, and I only have seen bits and pieces of like some clips of Hamilton shit. But I know it's Hamilton. There's nothing else it could be but Hamilton. And so hard. Like, too hard. And particularly with the lyrics that they were talking about. At this point in the movie, this song, and I'm not saying anything bad about the song. I'm saying the worst part of this song was its placement in the story and its placement in the movie. It hadn't earned that yet. I don't know that this is the big invention. I don't know jack about Jingle Jangle. So me hearing a song about him getting his big achievement doesn't hit the same way as it would if we had seen something else. If in that preamble, with the looks like 3D puppetry, which is very good, by the way. They did pretty good on the 3D puppetry. I'd be pretty shocked if that was animatronic or stop motion, but maybe it is. Who knows? They did some pretty good work with the puppetry, though. I like that. I like the design and everything, and even the interspersing of them to essentially tell a new chapter of the story was pretty good. But they did that. I think they did a little slight preamble. They did a slight small preamble with Jingle Jangle before they got to the live action Jingle Jangle, and that song, it was just wrong. It just didn't deserve to be where it was, for as big and as loud and as bombastic as it was. It didn't deserve that placement, and it didn't deserve that tempo, that feel of that song, that spot in the story. I can't feel anything with that. However, I could immediately tell what they were going for, and I can immediately tell that it's gonna strike a chord with people, and it already has. And I'm sure people are downloading the soundtrack and all the other stuff because especially the Broadway heads, they love songs. We love songs like that, but particularly like if you can just listen to it, like those, there's people that listen to just show tunes like just on their own, not even watch. Again, me, I've done that many a times. Ain't Misbehaving has rolled through my track list many a day. So they're just gonna listen to the songs and they're just gonna bump the songs or whatever. In the spot in the story, it's so distracting. So all that happens. Jangle's apprentice, Gusterson, is essentially being ignored by Jangle. Super ignored by Jangle. Like, and to the point where, because he's celebrating his victory. He's celebrating, him getting the missing ingredient. He's celebrating with his wife and his child, and they're celebrating that and ignoring the apprentice and doing it on purpose, or seemingly doing it on purpose. They essentially ignore the apprentice. Now, at a certain point, not necessarily abusing, but like just, hey, I'm so great, and then just, it's like the high school cheerleader or the high school team in some teen comms just yay, and then they accidentally, or not even accidentally, just inadvertently step on the geek who you know what I mean, they step on the geek protagonist in the story, and we're supposed to feel bad for him. Same thing here, or at least that's how it felt. Like, I felt bad for him, right? It turns out he's going to be the bad guy. So Jangle, the magic invention, is this thing that this potion that brings dolls to life, and he puts the potion in the little robot, played by Ricky Martin. Apparently, he's a matador, and he's so vain about himself, and he does a little dance and stuff. And that was actually a pretty good song that he did there as well. I kind of like that. I like the what I was watching, etc. Out of the doll, though, at this point, they hadn't established anything with Django, his wife, or his daughter in terms of character. I didn't know anything about, well, except for Django, I didn't know anything about the wife or daughter. They seem to come in as almost empty husks at that point. There's nothing, just a small thing, just like one line can get you attached to certain characters. They didn't necessarily do that. I guess that first song was supposed to be that, to make you connect with the wife, kind of cheering him on or whatever. But again, the placement and how it hit was so off that it didn't connect with me the way it wanted to connect. It wants to heavy-handedly connect. Like, I'm not one for the heavy hand. Like, you got to earn that shit with me, and it didn't at that point. So doll comes to life. The apprentice comes in, sees the dolls come to life, and is, oh my gosh, professor, that's incredible. And then the professor tells him to clean up while he and his family go celebrate again. And so he's sitting there cleaning up, and the doll's like, hey, the doll's upset. Ricky Martin's mad because Django wants to make millions and millions of him. He's a prototype. They want to make millions and millions of him, and the doll is a vain matador, and he refuses. He doesn't want to be. He wants to only be one of a kind. He wants to only be the one and only version of him. So he sees how Gusterson was just cast aside by Jangle, and he convinces him to steal not only the living doll, but all of his plans for himself, right? And you got to remember, this is in like steampunk times, so there's no such thing as like cell phones, and like it seemingly, I would have imagined that the patent office would have existed at some point. Like, are we to say that he didn't want to tell them what he had so that other people could see it? Maybe we'll go with that. And actually, that's a halfway decent argument to make for that. So we'll just leave it there. So Gustafson steals everything. He sings his song, which is I, and he steals the inventions and invents them all for himself for the next 30 years until he runs out of inventions. Well, this crushes Jangle, who was coming back into the room apparently with a gift on a platter with other food. He was like, oh, you didn't think we celebrate without you? Yes, I thought so. Because there was nothing to imply that he cared one iota for this kid. he waved him off and ignored him the entire time. We didn't see any build up to that between them that would suggest, he's just ribbing him or whatever, which I guess is a way to do it. It makes you feel more for Gusterson, but at least at this point. So, and the gift thing comes back later. I didn't even recognize it as gift. I thought he just like put fruitcake on the platter and was going to give it to him or something like that. It didn't translate, I think, the way they wanted it to translate. But Gusterson takes the inventions. This crushes Jangle to his core. And, the business starts going down. He can't invent anymore. He just doesn't have that spark because of the betrayal. Gusterson! And in the process of all that and starting to lose the shop, his wife dies of mysterious mommy must die illness that all the Disney movies have. And that's the end of Sharon Ross, unfortunately. And that just absolutely buries Jangle. Loss of that nature can do that. And he shuns to the point of sending her off his daughter, who's left there what was her name again? Not Journey, Jessica. Sends Jessica off. She's like, fine, I'm gonna leave now. And big dramatic thing, and she takes off. And Jangle turns the Imaginarium into a pawn shop and has a stalker male lady, Miss Johnston, who helps save the day a little bit later on. But we'll get to that. In the process, Jessica has a life of her own and then has a daughter named Journey, who's also an adventurer. Jessica, by the way, was also an adventurer. Like, she wanted to follow in her daddy's footsteps. So broke her heart that her daddy had broke her heart that because his heart was broken because the stalker male lady, Miss Johnston, makes a point in an entire song where she tells another autonomous human being to smile. She has the nerve, the privilege, the gall to tell Mr. Jangle to smile. He's a grown-ass man. He'll smile if he wants to. Don't tell him to smile. And he's very grumpy about it, too. This was another song, and this was where I really started to see the pattern of these songs. They're kind of long. Kind of longer than they necessarily need to be to get the point across. And all of them seem to be the same length. Like, I would imagine they all seem to be, pretty meaty, chunky audition songs in stages all over the country. If we ever get stages all over the country anymore. Like, these are, these aren't, this ain't, some car jingle. Jingle. This ain't some, you know what I mean? It's not that. These are all meaty songs in this movie, and some of them might overstay their welcome a bit. This one with the backup singers, and Jangle even brings up the backup singers that eventually just come in. Like, she brought her own background singers. Like, so the fourth wall is definitely got a hole in it. It's not broken, but it's got a hole in it. And a hole that will come back later, so we'll have two holes in it. When it establishes the background singers. Yeah. So Miss Johnston, we're going to talk about, and I know we're at the point where, we're not talking about problematic figures anymore. But if anybody wants to talk problematic figures, you got to be talking about Miss Johnston in this movie. She damn near rapes poor Jangle on many occasions. She tries to molest him so hard on many, many occasions. And at a certain point, not seemingly, she did help save his granddaughter. She did drive him up there and help save his granddaughter. So Jangle, to thank her, has mistletoe after she tried the mistletoe trick. That didn't work, and she acted totally like, insert evil name of an incel. She acted like an incel and was so upset, and she threw a little temper tantrum. So if you're gonna write these articles, make sure Mrs. Johnston is in these articles. Is all I'm saying. Jangle eventually kisses her with the mistletoe on the cheek. She comes in the seat of her car, just right there. So, like, if you're a child and you don't know what orgasms are, you will after you watch this, because she has one on screen. It was quiet, but she clearly has an orgasm just from a kiss on the cheek, is all I'm saying. Jangle better snap on that, because, he can blow in her direction and get her to come. Like that, take a woman like that. You just, take them. The super sensitive ones, you feel like a god. Are you kidding me? Damn right, baby. Damn right. Baby, don't make me blink. Don't make me blink over there. You know what that does to you? Makes you feel like a god. Makes you feel like a king. Anyway, so square root of impossible song that the main actress, Madeline, sings basically as soon as she gets to the Emporium of Wonderment or whatever that is warning, fair warning right now. It's going to be played at every elementary and every middle school graduation until the end of time. Until the end of time. It is just, I can do it even though I'm small and I'm big. And again, her voice just out of this world. Like, you gotta be kidding. Like, this girl sings like a seasoned 30-year-old vet who's been training lungs by, scuba diving in the Pacific, 7 days a week. Like, she's got this lung capacity on her. She's got, this voice, the inflection of her voice, the diction. When she does, she's a pro. She is she would have to have been starting practicing this shit as literally as soon as she came out. Like, as soon as she came out, they smacked her on the ass. She cried, and then her parents were like, "No, this is the note you're gonna hit," and probably didn't leave until she hit that stupid note. That's how early she had to have started to be this powerful and good at this, whatever age she is in. Jangle has this kid who wants to be his apprentice, who I guess knew of his former days, but Jangle just considers him just he's kind of sweeps around the place or whatever. Gustav Gustafsson has his bad guy song, not as good as the Puppets bad guy song, and again, longer than it probably needed to be. Keegan-Michael Key is good. Keegan-Michael Key has a couple of lanes. He's got sketch comedy lane. He's got just playing a normal guy on stuff lane, like he did in that Best Friends show that he had with Fred Savage. And I can see why they booked him. I can see what they wanted to do with him. And I would be lying if I said he didn't hit the comical villain note quite a few times. There were a couple of times in this song, and this is what I was talking about with length. It was near the end, really, of this song that I was like, all right, they can pull back on this a little. Like, they could have maybe edited these last two ad-libs out, and it would have been French Kiss or Chef's Kiss. But they didn't do that, and they probably should have done that. Again, it's not the problem with these songs isn't necessarily even the songs. Like, they hit. It's kind of they overstay their welcome, really, and this one certainly overstays its welcome. But he has this latest invention, which was actually just his. It was his original invention, but the problem was there was an issue with it. There was some calculation that he wasn't making, and Jangle was he asked Jangle for help over and over again to try to get it to work, and Jangle told him to do a couple of things and then left to go celebrate with his family, and that's part of why we see him, part of why I see him, why Gustafsson starts, singing, and why I see Jangle is kind of a dick in the beginning of the movie. It's like, help the kid out. Like, I get it, but like, this is super important to him as well at this particular point. So Gustafsson's original invention has the same problem it had originally. So, he's got this big presentation where he's talking about, I'm the shit, and it just falls. The invention works for a while until it gets hit, and then it falls to pieces. So then now he's got to try to claw his way back, and so he decides that he's going to try to steal anything from the original inventor, from Jangle, to try to get his business back up. And for whatever reason, he's got a telescope over there, and he sees where Journey and the apprentice kid find this long-lost invention that was originally Journey's mother's invention, Jessica's invention, Buddy 3000. And I'd be surprised if they didn't want to get those on store shelves immediately as soon as they saw that. The producers of the movie, not the characters in the movie. So Buddy 3000 doesn't seem to work. It's kind of old. They put in the battery, but the thing that makes it work is belief. She believes in it, and it goes and it flies all over the place, and it has magic that makes other people fly, the people that believe in it. And so Keegan-Michael Key sees them flying and in the thing through the glass in the laboratory. And so he's like, we got to go to figure out what they got over there. So he asks Journey, but Journey rebuffs him. She's too smart for that. Then he finds the apprentice kid and forces him up into the laboratory and steals Buddy and the plans. So at the new presentation, Buddy doesn't work. And we figure out why it doesn't work. So all the flying around the laboratory, he worked because the kids believed. Then he started to slow down and stop working because Jangle was coming up, and Jangle hasn't believed in 30 years. So, he hasn't believed since Gusterson screwed him out and his wife died. So he didn't have any belief. He had so little belief. He had a vacuum of belief, and it was draining all the belief, hope, and magic from Buddy 3000. So essentially, that's what happened at the presentation. So even though Keegan-Michael Key saw it and believed in it and knew that it could work, the other people had doubted Gustafsson at this point because of the failure of the last time. And so they had no belief, and their lack of belief may have probably counteracted his belief in it. And then the fact that it didn't work made him not believe in it. I'm assuming that's the logic you have to take with this. So he was going to dish it off into the wasted products bin and have it crushed. That's where Journey and the apprentice kid come in, and they see it. And they knew that he took it, and so they went back and snuck in and found out, and they went to go save Buddy 3000, who was in a crate but still not moving for some reason, even though he was surrounded by two kids who did believe him. Then there was a big chase scene, and they eventually got chased into the vents of the big factory that Gusterson has, because he's been the biggest toy manufacturer of all time. At that particular point. So he had this big smokestack factory, and they're in the vents of the thing. Okay, that's how they got in through the fan. So they accidentally start a fire in this room that apparently had so much hay in it, right next to a gasoline lamp, or not even gasoline, a fire lamp or whatever it was. Fantastic. Yes, that's that old O'Leary cow logic there. So now they're stuck. This is the point where Psycho Mail Lady brings Jangle to the factory because his granddaughter's there. His granddaughter came to the factory. I think I talked about that. He wasn't really warming up to her, but then found out that she's an inventor too, and she can see the way he can see, where she does this, and all the imagination does that in her head. So now he's trying to get close to her again, and they do a calculation to get them out of the vent. And that's where the computer graphics really went all, like, I get it. You don't want to burn the kids. Okay. But, these computer graphics weren't great. They will age poorly. They will age badly. Even though the rest of the stuff is pretty good, but the computer graphics for that scene will age badly. Anyway, they get out of the vent, and with Buddy in tow, and eventually go back to the laboratory, and that's where Journey's mother, Jessica, decides to come back. She told put in a letter to Jangle that she was going to come back on Christmas Day to pick up Journey, but she decided she was going to go a little bit early, and that's where we have what's the name of this song? Oh, before we get to that song, apparently Journey and Jangle bond over snowball fights that turn into an African/Jamaican song in the middle of this Dickensian London. That didn't make sense. So there was a Spanish song when the toy comes to life because it's a matador. That makes sense. Why the Jamaican song? And I'm pretty sure it was Jamaican because I heard French. I heard some of the lyrics were French. Why? Right down to African dancing. They had the little kids that were in the snowball fight, the little girls particularly, doing African dances, including the little white girl on the end doing them perfectly as if she straight up came from the motherland. Like, what? Excuse me? Baking powder? What? Was that computer animated too? Because if it was, that's where you get your Emmys. Because that was amazing. That looked just like a little black girl doing that dance, except it was a little white girl doing that dance. Hats off to her. At a certain point, there's this big song between Jangle and his his daughter, played by Nikki Noni Rose, who, as we all know, is ridiculous with her talent as well. This song, I think they were trying to go for. It took some time to get warmed up to the place it wanted to get to. Which, if we're editing this, they could have probably cut that down to make it a sharper song. But this one was supposed to be I think it's supposed to be the gym hit. I think they want this one to be, make it work. I think is probably what they called it. Make it work again. They're really going for the gym hit. They're really going for the take me to church vibe. They're really going for the you're gonna have these in your earbuds as you're fucking pumping. Make it work again. Make it work again. That's really what they were going for. And again, the thing about the songs is that they hit it square on the head, sometimes too hard. Because all she was doing was going to her estranged father's house. Once we started seeing the shovels do doing that, she was like, is this necessary for this? Like, okay, I can kind of see the emotion that they want to go for, but they didn't have to make it like it was going to be this big fight. They didn't have to make it like, you know what I mean? Like the kind of tempo, the sound of it was kind of like the song you would hear on a Creed movie. It was like, why, just before the big fight in the training montage, like, why we gotta, she just gonna go talk to her daddy? Like, I know she hasn't seen him in a long time, but there was nothing to suggest that they were violent to each other or there was fights or arguments. He just, he was just too sad for her to be there. She wasn't, she was just sad. He was just sad that time, okay. So they did that song. And then they decided they're going to stay up to keep to fix Buddy 3000 for Journey, and they do. And Belief makes him come to life again, and gives Jangle his life again. And the banker comes, who originally was going to foreclose, and he's like, "Oh, this is stupendous. So I'm going to give you all the money you want for the rest of your life." Ha 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 ha! And then everybody sees it. Before that, Gustafsson Gustafssonovich comes in and tries to steal back Buddy 3000 with the cops, but Journey was smart enough to put a watermark on the blueprints, so it's property of Jangle, and he's going to jail now. And in the end credits, you see him in jail. And the doll, pleads for his life. He pushes him off, and he pleads for his life in front of Jangle. And Jangle was like, "Sure, you're now going to be sold by the millions after I reprogram you," and he shuts him off. Meaning that he knew that he could shut him off, and probably Gustafsson didn't know he could shut him off. Which is weird, because it was probably in the plans. Oh, never mind, because the doll made him throw away the plans so that he could still be the one and only one of his kind. But he ends up getting shut down, and Gustafsson goes to jail, and then everybody sees the magnificence of Buddy 3000. They start flying in the air, and just like that. And then we come back to Grandma Felicia Rashad with her children, or the grandkids, and the grandkids, and she shows them that she had so Journey has gears and stuff as hair holders, barrettes or whatever, and so she pulls back her dreads and shows that she had the gear. Huh? Grandma, you're Journey? Yes, I'm Journey, and Jangle's Magnificent Emporium exists. So let's all open this window and fly. You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly. Because Buddy comes out and gives them the magic of belief. And they fly, and they fly, and they fly, and they fly all the way to the promised land. This movie's problems were, again, the meaning. Like, honestly, if they trim down some of these songs, the length of them, and even some of the scenes, I feel like I said this about Best Man Holiday in that review. If they trim some of the extra fat off of this and keep it at 90, 100 minutes, fine. We don't necessarily need the full 2 hours. Like, if they trim it down, I'm fine with that. And you have a more tight, compact story that 100% makes people, 100% inspires them. I did not necessarily get the Christmas spirit watching this, partially because Christmas doesn't necessarily play the biggest part in this. It doesn't feel like, yeah, Gustafson's a toy maker and they're fighting over toys at Christmas time, but that's not really the story. The story is the relationship between, not even really, the story is Jangle getting his groove back and Journey bringing it to him through the power of child. Like, that's childhood belief. Like, that's all it is. And at the end, Jangle gives Gustafsson, before they cart him off to jail, the gift that he was going to give him, which was the gyroscope that he needed to make his invention work in the first place. So they really are like, okay, we understand. We kind of made Jangle a dick, and not everybody would pick up that that's a gift that's on the food tray that he's bringing to the apprentice kid, because we hadn't established anything. So let's ex machina this and show it here at the end. This is what it felt like. Maybe that's how they wrote it, but that's how it felt. So, like, as much as, I wouldn't even necessarily say I was rooting against Gustafsson in this one. Throughout the rest of it, like, yeah, I knew he was evil, etc., etc. Yeah, but there was nothing that I was like, I hope, he's so dastardly. There was no little part of me that was like, even watching in kayfabe land, that was like, yeah, he's gotta, they gotta do this, and they gotta, do this race against time. There was nothing that made me that invested in stuff like that in this particular movie. It hit notes that it wanted to hit, and it hit them hard, because this is Christmas movie. This is classic Christmas musical Hamilton movie. And so it hit them. And I'm not saying that the craftsmanship of the thing wasn't well done or wasn't done to perfection, but maybe it was done too much to perfection, if that makes any sense. To the point where it almost sacrifices character sometimes, and almost character, like, that'll build character. Like this show, like I mentioned, especially at the very beginning with that song, it automatically started off on a back foot with me, because it hadn't earned any of the lyrics that it was talking about in that song. And as good as the performance of Madeline was, and it was, I mean, if she doesn't become a star at the end of this, that's the world's biggest travesty as far as well, not, it's not. There's been other child actor travesties, but that's gonna be a travesty. That's gonna be a travesty if she doesn't become a star after this, because, like, you could see star in her, and it's a vehicle for her to be a star. And by the way, let's not take too much credit away from our boy Edison, played by Kieran L. Dyer. Like, he did his part too. He fit that role pretty well too. Again, he's overshadowed by Journey because she's the main character, but let's not take anything away from him. It's gonna become a holiday classic, even if it doesn't necessarily earn holiday classic, if you know what I mean. So when I think holiday classic, I think of It's a not Small World. It's a Wonderful Life. I think of Home Alone. Home Alone is my personal favorite holiday classic movie. Grew up on it. It earns it because the world. Even something like It's a Wonderful Life with supernatural stuff in it. Let's go that route, because this is supernatural. It's sci-fi, whatever. It earns it more because it's not perfect, right? You can, you see slight flaws or flaws of the time, like this is the best way they could do it for the time that it was made and done, that endear itself. It's not as glossy and polished as Jingle Jangle is. That's what I'm thinking of. So think of professional wrestling. A lot of people in wrestling, when WWF was building itself up, like WCW more, because WWF was too glossy. It was too bright and shiny. Nothing wrong with a bright and shiny Christmas movie, but it assumes holiday classic as it walks in instead of earning it. So you earn it with It's a Wonderful Life by having somewhat of a related, and it does have a relatable story here, but by having, and it has a very affable lead, the same way It's a Wonderful Life does. They're check, snow, trees, all that stuff. Check. travesties, tragedies in the character's life. Check. Redemption arc. Check. Check. The relationship with Journey and Jangle would have benefited more from some of that time back. It was some of that time that was spent on some of the musical numbers. It would have benefited more, and they hit certain marks. She finds, she does a calculation for them, figures out a problem, et cetera, et cetera. They start working on some formulas and stuff. Okay, they start the snowball fight, even with the weird calypso music at the end. All right, they get there. It would have benefited from like one or two more scenes. Take the time from some of those musical numbers that didn't necessarily need the last 30 seconds or the first 45 or whatever, and build it around that to help really build that grandpa-granddaughter connection, even and especially the begrudging part. Like he does a little every once in a while and sends her to bed, undeservedly. But it felt like there was something not quite there. You know what I'm saying? It felt like something that was almost there to give it that authentic, genuine kind of feel to it. But it was glossed over. Really, it was just kind of polished over, and it's not quite there. But that's not to say that this movie isn't good in its look. The design of the world fits. I can tell they kind of did it on something of a budget. So like the world, you can tell is big, but couple of locations, it almost looks like a stage, and it always looks like they just built like a sound stage especially to do some of those numbers. Big numbers with a lot of extras, a lot of dancers and stuff. Big, beautiful Broadway. Again, Hamilton-like numbers that they did here. But again, maybe too big sometimes. And you can there's nothing to say you can't have big songs in your musicals, but they can't all be big. They can't. If all of them are epic, then none of them are epic. You get a couple, you get the couple of epic, just the big building ones. Then you can have the small little conciliatory one, and they do have a couple of those, but like it feels like too many of the songs are too epic for me. Out of $15, Jingle Jangle, Christmas Journey. So this one will get the holiday classic status just because it'll just be granted it. It'll just be granted it by Twitter. It'll just be given it because of the songs. And they'll love the length. They won't care about the length of the songs, or they'll love the length of the songs, particularly because they'll probably be listening to them individually, maybe the whole soundtrack, but it won't be, you know what I mean? Like it's, for me, it was too big a lot of the time than it deserved story-wise. At these particular points in the movie, and some of them weren't. It's not even that some of them weren't big enough. Is that the ones that stick in my head are the ones that were too big, and there were too many of those for me to call it a holiday classic, a personal holiday classic. But again, it'll just be given it. It'll just be told that it's a holiday classic. Everyone will just say it if they haven't already. As far as I'm concerned, it's not a holiday classic. As far as I'm concerned, out of $15, Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Story, Journey. I get it, because her name was Journey. Ha! All right. Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey is worth, I'm personally going to give it 12 out of 15. 12 feels right. It's not average. It's above average in a lot of ways, particularly the performances, particularly, like I said, the girl Madeline Forest Whitaker, multifaceted. Homeboy, has a decent, musical voice. Who knew? I didn't, and I've seen him do a whole bunch of different things. I didn't know that. They drive that number up. Like I mentioned, the set design, you can see the care that was taken with a lot of it, which is important to me and is rare nowadays. Again, the biggest faults of the movie are how big it shot occasionally. How much of a shot it wanted to take, as it were. They go a little overboard with that for my taste. But that's pretty much it. And the lack of connection, like I mentioned before, it was kind of hard for me to connect with Jangle early on in the movie, and he's supposed to be the protagonist, and he starts off singing this big epic song about how he won. I couldn't connect with him in that moment. And Keegan-Michael Key, a couple instances where it was like, maybe that was a little bit too much. Maybe they edited basically that feeling of they could have cut this scene a little bit, or they could have done this. They could have just kind of shaved this off. Like that kept taking me out of that world that it was supposed to try to engross me in and want to engross me in. It kept taking me out of it. Is why I'll give it 12. That and the other reasons is why I'll give it 12. It's good. I don't think I feel comfortable giving it a 10 or less. 11 feels a little harsh. And this is the season of giving after all. I think 12 out of 15. I wouldn't consider it a Black Christmas classic. Again, it doesn't feel, even though it's set in Dickensian London or whatever in the wintertime, for whatever reason, it still doesn't feel like a Christmas movie to me. Lethal Weapon feels more like a Christmas movie to me. I don't know. But it's not bad. It's not terrible. I would probably have to watch it again. If there was some chick I was seeing that was in the musical, she'd, I'm sure, want to watch it again. And we'd watch it again, and I wouldn't hate watching it. I may get more acclimated to the thing and to the style they were going for. But just at first glance, it was like, yeah, 12 sounds about right. Like, they could have cut this there, this, that, or the other, and it would have been tighter. And that extra speed, the extra jump, I guess speed for lack of a better phrase, because nog baby. If they had done some more things expeditiously, I'd probably give it a higher rating. This is where you tell me how much you hate me and how wrong I am. This is where you get on your clickety-clack machines and clickety-clack away that I am incorrect. Where do you do it? Why you do it? Down there in the comments section. You like and you share. Sharing is caring. This is the season of sharing. Ho, 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 and all that rot. Go ahead and share this around if you liked what you heard, and how could you not, because it was a great review. Tell me what you think down there in the comment section. Also, you can follow me in different places. I'm Surreal49 on everything. All my links are down there in the description. I have a podcast that comes out every Thursday. It's called How Do We Even Get Here? You can find it everywhere you find your podcast. Just look up How Do We Even Get Here, see the little cars. That's us. Or go to tinyurl.com/get here too. That's our YouTube link to the channel. So go there and support. And in the meantime, in between time, for Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey, I just got that way late into the review of this stupid thing. As always, ho, ho, ho.
How did we even get here? Cause I swear I don't recognize shit here.